Most people can't stand Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man because he's too cool, he's a hipster, or he's too confident. However, I find him to be the most interesting and relatable Spider-Man ever. The theme in these movies is what makes the character so special and different from any other Spider-Man we've seen. The theme of overcoming hopelessness is probably the most powerful thing to come from any of the Spider-Man series. Peter's life begins pretty tragically. He is abandoned by his parents to live with his aunt and uncle and gets bullied at school. But once Peter gains his powers, his life changes completely. Peter beats the bully and gets the girl back to back and feels like he's on top of the world. This is the highest point in his life. After that, it is a steep downhill slope for him. Peter loses his uncle, then his girlfriend's dad, then his dad's friend, then the girlfriend, then his best friend, then the girlfriend for good. All of these happen as a result of his powers. Good things rarely happen to Peter. Compared to Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland's portrayals, whose characters go through varying degrees of highs and lows of life, Garfield feels the highs for just a moment and then loses everything. These movies show how the powers are a curse in his life rather than how they could have been cool and fun. We never get inspiring scenes such as the train scene from Spider-Man 2. It complements the darker tone these movies bring to the character and highlights the dimly lit scenes of Peter just being Peter. The best scenes in these movies are the ones I just mentioned, where it's dimly lit, no one is talking, there is no music, it's just people being people. One of the best scenes is when Peter is just sitting in a corner of his room after losing Uncle Ben, just listening to a voicemail Uncle Ben left him, just to hear his voice. It shows how real and grounded the character is. My favorite scene, the scene in which Gwen dies, doesn't really need an explanation. Andrew Garfield makes you feel all the guilt, pain, and anxiety inside of Peter, caused by him not keeping his promise to Gwen's father to leave Gwen out of his life.
Stay with me, stay with me. Stay with me, stay with me. You stay with me. Gwen. Gwen! No, please, please. Please. I can't.
Her death is a direct consequence of his actions. I love this scene because of the weight it holds. This is the final result of all of Peter's actions, and as I said before, Garfield does an excellent job of making you feel what Peter is going through. The best part of this portrayal is that Peter is grounded and feels real. He's a high school kid who feels like a high school kid because he makes repeated high school mistakes, bullying the bully, forgetting to pick up his aunt, mocking the guy who mocked him, and of course, not keeping his word to stay away from Gwen. He's immature, like a high school kid. He refuses to make up for his mistakes and tries to avoid dealing with the consequences, hoping they will disappear. This is best shown by the manifestation of Gwen's father in Peter's head. We know Peter feels guilty for not keeping his word to her father, and that's why he sees him, but he never does anything to change it. He just hopes he will stop seeing him. To close this essay, I want to discuss the overall message of these movies. After Gwen's death, Peter quits being Spider-Man and becomes pessimistic. If he can't save the people close to him, how can he save anyone else? Peter constantly goes back on his word and takes back what he does, but the only thing he actually learns in these movies is to not give up hope. This is shown by him listening to Gwen's graduation speech, which is about hope. Peter is then inspired to be Spider-Man again, to keep hope alive. For a Spider-Man series, the message of never giving up hope is a great message. That is why Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies are not as bad as everybody says.